Today, we're diving into something that underpins our entire world, our whole food system. Turns out, our ability to feed everyone on the planet rests on something most of us have never even thought about, and it is way more fragile than you can possibly imagine.
All right, let's just jump straight in with a question. When you think about the biggest threats to our world, what comes to mind? Climate change, for sure. Water scarcity, absolutely. But what if the most immediate threat to feeding 8 billion people wasn't any of those things? What if it all comes down to a simple, finite rock that we are, well, rapidly running out of?
And that brings us to this idea of a silent dependency. We're about to pull back the curtain on this hidden pillar of modern life. It's an element so critical that if it vanished, our entire agricultural system, the one we know and rely on, would just grind to a halt.
Look, I want to be really clear about the stakes here. This is not me being dramatic. This statement, it's a fundamental truth of biology and modern farming. Without phosphorus, there is no food security. It is really that simple and, honestly, that terrifying.
So what is this stuff anyway? Phosphorus. It's a chemical element, the letter P on the periodic table. For plants, it's everything. It's absolutely essential for growing strong roots and for transferring energy. Think of it as the battery pack inside every single plant cell. No phosphorus, no energy. No energy, no growth. Period.
Now, you might be thinking, okay, it's important, but can't we just, make more of it? And this is where the problem gets really, really serious. You see, unlike a lot of other resources, phosphorus is totally irreplaceable. And that simple fact creates a massive global challenge.
This right here gets to the absolute core of the problem. Let's compare it to the other big fertilizer we use, nitrogen. We basically solved the nitrogen problem 100 years ago. We can literally pull it out of the thin air all around us. But phosphorus, totally different story. It's a finite resource. You have to dig it out of the ground. And this is the critical part. There is no synthetic substitute. We can't invent a replacement. Once we've mined it all, that's it. It's gone.
So this leads us to a concept you might have heard of before, but in a different context: peak phosphorus. It's just like peak oil. It's that moment in time when we hit the maximum global production rate. And after that peak, production starts to decline, and whatever is left gets way harder and way more expensive to get.
And because it's so scarce and so concentrated, it creates this huge geopolitical issue. Let's call it the phosphorus choke point. Because whenever you have an essential, non-replaceable resource that's only found in a few places, well, the people who control it suddenly have immense power.
And this chart, wow, this shows you the choke point perfectly. Just look at these numbers. A staggering 70%, 7-0, of the world's known phosphate reserves are in just one region, Morocco and the contested Western Sahara. China's got about 6%, Russia 2%. Everybody else is just a tiny slice. This isn't like oil, which is found all over the place. This is an extreme concentration of a resource that every single one of us needs to eat.
When you have that kind of concentration, it means this quote is not an exaggeration. The future of our food supply could literally depend on the politics of just a few national borders. If you control the fertilizer, you control food prices, you control crop yields, and ultimately, you have incredible influence over the stability of other nations. And listen, this isn't some abstract problem for the distant future. The fragility of this system, it's already being tested right now. Let's walk through how a simple shortage can spiral into a full-blown global crisis, because it happens fast.
It's a chain reaction, and it is frighteningly simple. First, something disrupts the supply, maybe an export ban or a conflict. That means farmers just can't get the fertilizer they need. So what happens next? Crop yields go down immediately. Less food on the market with the same number of people needing to eat means prices spike. And throughout all of human history, almost nothing sparks social unrest and instability faster than people not being able to afford food.
And we have seen these triggers go off very recently. China has put restrictions on its phosphate exports to make sure it has enough for itself. That sent shockwaves through the market. The war in Ukraine, that disrupted supply chains from Russia, another key player. And these events led to absolutely crippling price spikes for farmers all over the world, especially in countries that depend on imports. Places across Africa and South Asia.
So, where does that leave us? Are we just doomed to a future of food scarcity, or are there ways we can navigate this challenge? Let's take a look at what the future might actually hold.
Okay, so there are some solutions being worked on. We are unbelievably wasteful with phosphorus right now, so recycling it from sources like wastewater or animal manure, that's a huge opportunity. Also, using more sustainable farming techniques can cut down on how much fertilizer we need in the first place. But we have to come back to that crucial point. Unlike nitrogen, there is no magic bullet, no easy synthetic replacement waiting to be discovered. That means conservation and recycling are pretty much our only real place here.
And all of this leaves us with this final, really powerful thought. As we look ahead, the global balance of power, it might be shifting. The nations that control the essential, irreplaceable elements of life, things like phosphorus, they might just find themselves holding the ultimate leverage. That silent dependency we've been talking about today, it might just become the loudest geopolitical issue of our lifetime.